Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the San Ramon Valley Unified School District Board of Education Board meeting. We want to let the public know that we are video recording today's meeting. The recording is being live streamed on the district's YouTube channel, and a link to the recording has been posted to the district's website. I'd like to introduce the board members. Vice President Ken Mintz, Clerk Rachel Hurd,
Good evening.
board members Laura Bratt
Hello.
and Shelley Clark.
Hello.
And I'm your president, board president, Susanna Ordway. Okay, I hope everyone had an enjoyable spring break and got a chance to relax as we finish the school years in the next couple of months. Thank you to our community for moving to and keeping us in a safer place where we can start looking ahead. Okay, please join me right now for Pledge of Allegiance. Okay. We're at 6.0, report of action taken in closed session. So in closed session tonight, the board voted in agreement 5-0 with staff's recommendation to a settlement. The settlement is in response to Office of Administrative Hearing case number 221020030 for a total of $69,990. Hey, may I have a motion to accept the minutes of March 9th, 2021, March 25th, 2021, and March 30th, 2021?
So moved.
Second.
The motion was made by Board Member Bratt and seconded by Board Member Clark. Call out vote. Board Member Clark,
Aye.
Board Member Bratt,
Aye.
Board Member Hurd,
Aye.
Board Member Mintz,
Aye.
Board Member Ordway.
Aye.
The motion passes 5-0.
Great, thank you, Cindy. Anyone, 8.0. 8.1, acceptance of open session agenda. So may I have a motion to accept tonight's agenda?
So moved.
Second.
The motion was made by Board Member Mintz and seconded by Board Member Hurd. Call out vote. Board Member Clark,
Aye.
Board Member Bratt,
Aye.
Board Member Hurd,
Aye.
Board Member Mintz,
Aye.
Board Member Ordway.
Aye.
The motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. 8.2, approval of consent agenda. Consent items are considered routine in nature and are approved by combining them into a single vote. A member of the board or a member of the public may request that a consent item be removed from the consent agenda to be considered and voted on separately. I have a request to pull actually 11.12 altogether out of the consent because there are some, inaccurate information. So we're going to bring it back at another time. So we're going to pull 11.12. And is there a request to move
Susanna,
any
I
item?
would like to pull item 1114, which is the one with the board bylaws. I saw 3 small things I think we should tweak in it, and so
Okay.
I'd like to discuss those.
Great. Okay, so we're pulling 11.14 for discussion. Oh, sorry. Is it 11.14? Yes. 11.14. And it will be 11, it will be then action item, under action items 10.5. Okay, anyone else? No, okay. 9.0, reports to the board. 9.1. Oh, sorry, I forgot to pulled it and I forgot to have that. Okay,
So,
can I have a
Move
motion?
approval of consent. Second. I should
And
say as amended.
As amended, yes. The motion was made by Board Member Hurd and seconded by Board Member Bratt. Call out vote. Board Member Clark,
Aye.
Board Member Bratt,
Aye.
Member Hurd,
Aye.
Board Member Mintz,
Aye.
Member Ordway.
Aye.
The motion passes 5-0.
Okay, now going on to point one, Asian Pacific Heritage Month. And our equity coordinator, Ashley Gutierrez, will help us.
Good evening. Annually in May, we celebrate Asian Pacific American or Asian Pacific Islander Heritage Month. While there are many resources to draw from to learn about and honor Asian cultures, today we'll highlight the Learning Together Resources Hub, which began as a 2019 collaboration with the APA community and the Smithsonian. This site curates art, music, films, poems, literature, discussion prompts, and resources designed to respond to anti-Asian hate and celebrate the beauty of the diverse experience that is Asian culture. These resources are designed for students and families of all ages. So while our students learn in class, we invite you to extend the learning at home. From social studies to art integration, from representative children's literature to diasporic poets of the APA LGBTQ+ community, these counter-narratives and learning experiences are as important now as ever as the SRVUSD stands in solidarity with our Asian community. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Ashley. Okay, 9.2. Yeah, and thanks for all the resources. 9.2, spring reopening and fall planning update. Dr. Malloy.
Thank you, President Ordway. I would like to provide the board and our community with some updates through this information agenda item. So obviously and thankfully, we've been able to bring our students back in person on campus 4 full days a week, while continuing to offer a strong remote program for those who had declared that back in November. We continue to focus on safety aligned with all public health guidelines, and I am happy to report as I visit our schools and I connect with our staff and our community, and most importantly, our students, there's a lot of joy and excitement about our return in this way. So far, so good, and we trust that that will continue through the rest of the school year. It's also important for me to comment that the end of year activities are really important for our school communities, for students, and for our families. And so we are following, again, all of the guidance that has been released, especially the March 26th guidance from California Department of Public Health related to end of year activities. And as you know, we must comply and will comply because of our safety commitment. We will follow all the health and safety measures specifically related to masking and distancing, and there will be consistency across sites related to graduations and promotions. And of course, each site, staff working with families and students, will make other decisions regarding what they would like to do to celebrate the end of year activities. But we did want to be sure that there would be consistency related to graduation. For high school, Friday, June 4th is when live graduations will take place outside on our campuses. Some of our schools will need 2 ceremonies in order for us to fulfill our requirements. There would be some space in between the 2 ceremonies for any additional type cleaning circumstances and such. And the schools will be communicating directly with families related to this particular information. Middle school graduations will be celebrated on June 2nd and 3rd, either outside on their own campus or at one of our high school campuses. Again, specific information regarding dates and times for the specific schools will come very shortly from the schools themselves to our families. The consistent decision for our 5th grade student promotion is a virtual video at all of our elementary schools. And again, other activities as determined locally. We will share most of this information, as I said, to our schools because we really want to honor the fact that system direction is the consistency that I just described, but that we do want that local community feel to be also very much a part of this important time of year. You know that last year we weren't able to celebrate the way in which we would hope. And this year there still needs to be these requirements which might impact to such a degree, but we're going to try to make things as quote unquote as normal as possible to celebrate this time. I was excited this Saturday as part again of the work we're doing to get ready for the fall. I attended our recruitment fair that we hosted at Monte Vista High School as we recruit amazing candidates to work in our schools. 8 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday is not my best time for those of you who know me, but I was thrilled to be there with our staff and engaging in this very, very important work. And a sign that we are continuing the important work to prepare for the fall. The fact that our long-term strategic plan, stakeholder engagement process is in full swing with lots of important insights emerging that speaks to our students' need to learn deeply and that innovation is very much necessary to focus on our students' social and emotional well-being because we know how very necessary it is for their learning, and to ensure the equitable, inclusive conditions in each of our schools. Even though so many of our students do so very well, we have the responsibility to create the conditions that all students will learn effectively. All students will find themselves healthy personally, and that may mean confronting bias that could exist, barriers that need to be removed, cultures that need to be shifted, and even systemic practices that may need to be interrupted, all a part of the stakeholder engagement. The reason I raise this in this report is because some have said, why now? And I want to state that what's so important about why now is because even though we have been immersed this year in challenges that I've never seen before, I'm sure all of our community, we still understand the importance of serving our kids and focusing on what needs to happen next. Lest I worry that we're moving too quickly in terms of this strategic exercise, I would like to continue to reiterate that how I view strategic planning from a superintendent's perspective is that it provides that parameter at the district level that motivates and inspires, that helps us align resources, that helps us celebrate impact, but that the real work happens in classrooms and schools. That's ongoing work. That's not static work. That's actually not work that you can place on a poster because it changes based upon the new learning that our staff and community gain as they do this work for our kids. So more to come on that. Really excited about our grade reform committee work. Parent meetings are complete. We understand that the grading process is so significantly connected to the learning process, and the fact that that work has been continuing, again, is a sign of the important energy in our district. The fact that we made a decision through your help and your approval at the last meeting to embark with a new learning management system, that work is underway. Our wellness centers, which are expanding, hiring is happening. Athletics are back in play, even though unfortunately we still need to, based upon public health, monitor the number of people in the stands, which isn't what makes everybody happy. We are at least back. And the arts, in many different creative ways, are also beginning to emerge again. So basically, we are in a place where that sense of energy, that sense of planning, that sense of actually seeing our kids and families and staff on campus together in a safe way, it's something that I think I, in my 30-some years, never thought I could be this excited about. This is what school is, but it hasn't been what school has been. So for that, I am very, very grateful. And last but not least, as we planned for the fall, we said that we needed to do things differently, that we could not sustain remote options at every single site. And thank you for your direction and your approval on that at previous meetings. But we did promise that we would operate a virtual academy for those that request it based upon their need. we did need to put some parameters in place because we do need to staff and plan. We closed that application process today, and there are 633 students who have applied for the virtual academy. They didn't apply, they are accepted if they wish to be there. I should be clear about that. 354 secondary students, 273 elementary students, 6 transition students. Please know that we promised to move quickly. We've been pulling, for example, course selection sheets for our secondary students who are requesting it, because the other direction you gave us is that we need to communicate what we can offer at the virtual academy, so that if anyone felt they needed to make a different choice, they would have a short window of time to opt back immediately to their home school. So we will be analyzing this data literally this week. We will be working to ensure that we can communicate the program as fast as possible. And then when we are able to communicate that, we will provide that window that you directed that would give people an opportunity to confirm that, yes, indeed, they want that placement. So that is also important information that we have at this time. The other piece to note that is very important is that the Venture Independent Study transfer window will open on April 27th. So we wanted to separate the virtual academy process from the venture process so that we weren't confusing our community, and that will be communicated broadly. One last comment in terms of this update report regarding everything related to present, and I will skip over summer because there's an action report that you will be receiving and approving, I hope, but that in terms of the task force that you asked me to create that would involve our different stakeholder groups, you will recall that we did make an attempt to move forward with the task force, and I made a decision to pause that movement forward for a couple of reasons. One, we were then thrown right into the change that was coming from the changing dynamics that were allowing us to return to in-person instruction sooner than maybe some of us had thought. Two, we tried to be inclusive in terms of inviting those who were interested, tried to make some choices regarding who would be on the committee and who wouldn't in a random fashion. And an unintended consequence of that choice that I take full responsibility for is that many of our interested stakeholders felt excluded by the way in which that unfolded. So we paused it. But what I am going to move forward with in the next short while is inviting everyone who wished to participate. So that would be about 100 parents. Round the groups out with other stakeholders, such as our staff, you, of course, our administrators, and actually create 5 smaller groups that might meet 3 or 4 times over the next short while to provide us key insights related to everything you're hearing me speak about tonight as we move towards the fall. And we would use the same process in each. District leaders would support each group, and I would be ensuring to bring back kind of like a comprehensive report, if you will, to the board so that we are pulling all of those voices. So I just wanted to update you that I took direction, started down a road. That road had some unintended consequences. Our goal is not to divide, but to include, and I'm now putting this strategy out there this week. And anyone who originally signed up may not like this new parameter. They could choose not to participate if they'd like, but we're going to include, as I said, the approximate 100 parents who so graciously took the time to submit an interest in participating in that way. So thank you for your attention. This is the first meeting in many that we can fulfill the requirements that you already gave us without actually my needing to ask for more direction regarding other very complex and challenging decisions. Summer school, of course, is important, and I will leave that to my team, But thank you for your attention as I bring you up to speed on everything that we have been working on since the last time we've met.
Thank you, Dr. Malloy. Yeah, it sounds like that you guys have been working on a lot of different things, and thank you for the update for both, right? And we'll talk more about summer school, but for the spring activities that's coming up, that's always really exciting for not only our students but teachers, and staff, and really the board and everyone too. So, and then of course everything you've said, and thank you for kind of changing when it didn't work, right? I think it was in our we asked you to set up a task force planning for the fall, that we did think that in selecting the individuals to be on a task force would be challenging, and of course it turned out that way. So thanks for kind of changing the way to do things, and hopefully with more ideas, voices, suggestions, we'll get really, really good ideas for the fall. Okay. 9.3, public comment for non-agenda items. Okay, public comment will be limited to no longer than 3 minutes. The views expressed during public comment are those of the individual speaker and do not necessarily reflect the views of the board or district staff. The district believes in an inclusive, welcoming, and safe environment for its meetings for all of our community. The board respects each individual's rights to express ideas and opinions. Pursuant to applicable laws and board policy, the board will not prohibit public criticism of the board or the district. We kindly ask that when making public comment, you refrain from the use of profanity, exercise tolerance of others and their viewpoints, and exemplify model behavior. Please be mindful that district students may be watching. You are encouraged to address the board and the public in a respectful manner such that all those observing, from children to adults, are made to feel welcome, safe, and respected. The board will not permit any disturbance or willful interruption of board meetings. Persistent or excessive disruption by any individual or group shall be grounds to terminate the privilege of addressing the board. So I have one card for public comment, and it's Beverly Kumar.
Good evening. Is the mic on? Okay. Good evening, Superintendent Dr. Malloy, Trustee Ordway, board members, and district leaders. My name is Beverly Kumar, and I'm really excited to see all of you. So thank you for the opportunity to speak at public comment. Originally, I was going to come here and wear my Contra Costa County Commissioner hat and tell you how thrilled I was to see the 3 components of the strategic plan, because they are perfectly married with arts education. However, I have a poem for you. And I guess that too will show the importance of an arts education. So without further ado, I don't have a title for this poem yet. I just wrote it. Maybe you can all help me with that later. Somewhere in our district, a child sits in a cafeteria, surrounded by others, yet feeling alone, afraid of getting in trouble for not eating lunch. She is Muslim. It is Ramadan. Somewhere in our district, a message is sent out on an app, posted on a website, quoting Steve Bannock, triggering thoughts of racism, not patriotism. Somewhere in our district, some time ago, a student spoke up, addressing this board. How does his 9-year-old sister know the N-word? She was called the N-word at school. Some time ago in our town, I listened to a student in this district right over in the gym across the way. As a minority student of a predominantly white high school, how can I get others to hear my voice? When someday and sometime must be now, when everyone is welcome here, is spelled H-E-A-R. So thank you. Thank you, Chair Ordway. Yes, that our children are listening and that we all have roles in this community. Our teachers, our administration, and our community to serve those children.
Thank you, Beverly. Do we have any more cards for public comment? Okay. Wow, that's a little different than the past. That's we're going to move to 9.4, Association President's Comments. So I'd like to invite the RIA President and Katzberg.
Good evening. So nice to see everybody here. It's the first time that I'm able to actually see Dr. Malloy in the flesh, I believe. What an honor. I just am thrilled to be here. And I want to address in my report are, of course, our trustees, cabinet, members of our community. Trying to read from my phone. Sorry about this. Okay. I want to also thank our brothers and sisters, CIU and CSCA, all of our students, and our Servia members. I'm Ann Katzberg. I'm the president of the San Ramon Valley Education Association, and my pronouns are she and her. It's a privilege to address you this evening with my report representing Servia, the members who are our teachers, our educators, psychologists, counselors, social workers, and teacher librarians. We are laser focused on securing support for our students. I'd like to thank Dr. Malloy for your communication to our staff today regarding the verdict on Derek Chauvin. The message on how important it is as a community to support each other and to respect everybody was well received, to create a safe, equitable, and conclusive school environment that is free from racism and discrimination resonates in our midst. So your communication addressing issues in a timely manner is so appreciated. At our last school board meeting, my vice president, Laura Finko, who is here in the audience, read my report because I was celebrating Passover with my family. I'm really appreciative, Laura, of you reading the report. And at that time, which actually seems like a lifetime ago, we were just returning to a full-time 4-day-a-week instruction for the students that were on a hybrid program that no longer exists. And now it seems that there's been so much that's happened since then. So I'd like to share with you. So since then, our negotiating teams, management's team, as well as Servia's team, settled yet another round of negotiations on finishing up the article that addresses summer school for a contract, as well as the memorandum of understanding for the 2021 summer school session. So for the sake of the community, there is a process in which Servia abides to, making sure that all of our tentative agreements that are reached at the table are voted upon by our general membership and ratified with votes. So we are going to start that process tomorrow by having a general membership meeting following up with a vote. Our members know that a great union contract means that our students have the supports, resources, and learning environment that they need to thrive. When we enter into negotiations, our table team has done the research that we know is necessary in order to assure that what our students get the best. And for the purpose of this report, I'd like to share with you what the data is showing us in our research so that we can continue supporting our students. So for those of you that have already viewed our Survey on Monday mentionings video on Facebook, I do those on Mondays. I remember that the survey members know that our Support Our Students campaign must be more than talk. We must walk the walk to achieve our campaign's pillars, which are social emotional well-being, adequately funded schools, and fully staffed schools. First, we must address our students' social emotional needs. Some of our students have never attended an on-site classroom, and our community must trust their educators. As our members know how to ensure that we will nurture our students as they return full-time to our campuses. Even though some of our students are back on campus and we are not experiencing life as normal, I don't think that we can hope for normalcy at a time like this. But what can we do is we have to bear witness to what we are experiencing. And we have to find ways that we can support our students. A recent article in EdSource entitled, "Why Mental Health is the Key to Learning Needs." Sorry about this. I lost my place. Let's see. Okay, back to the EdSource article. So why mental health is the key to dealing with learning loss. Stated that nearly all students over the past year have felt some sense or some degree of isolation and loneliness during the pandemic, but some experience far more serious mental health challenges depending on their circumstances. This is another confirmation why it is essential to prioritize students' mental health before we dive into the academics. During the week, this week and last week, Survey has been working with our executive board members, our rep councils to develop an action plan addressing the needs of our students. Last month, our site leaders shared their concerns and our supports that we must do to, in order to make sure that we bring back the joy of learning for our students. This month, we addressed 3 different questions that management is utilizing with our community focus groups. And we asked our members what we need to ensure success for our students in the schools and in life in general, in the areas of equity, deep learning, and social emotional well-being. There is so much to share. Our educators know what is important to provide the ability to develop relationships with our students by providing smaller class sizes. We need the professional development to address the mental health needs of our students and the curriculum to provide an inclusive approach to what we teach. And we need the supports of all of our students that is equitable for everyone, whether you're a person of color, a student in high school, a kindergartner, a student with special needs. We must ensure the needs of our students that are all addressed. Survey's actions include inviting community leaders to a focus group so that we can listen to the members of the community and hear their issues. Survey is also going to be a session for success for our members tomorrow to generate these ideas from our rank and file members. And on May 13th, Survey is going to be hosting a community town that will be focused on for next year, and we'll be inviting the entire community. I want to thank our trustees for showing the value of hearing from others. As our management teams have been conducting focus groups today and tomorrow with our Survey members. Today, the 3 bargaining unit presidents and the vice presidents met with management to share thoughts and ideas on what is needed for our students. So what's next? It was announced at our last board meeting that management positions were added and some promotions were provided. It goes without saying that our management team works so hard. During the period that Rick Schmidt was our superintendent, many cuts were made, and perhaps those were simply not enough. There was simply not enough meat on the skeletal work force that was in the district office. As management adds positions with the simplicity of voting these positions into existence as a school board at a school board meeting, I would like to take this opportunity to appeal to Servia's request to bring the services our students not only deserve, but need at this time. We have significant additional funds this year that have been provided by our state and our federal government for the sake of supporting our students. Previously, our contract negotiations have addressed the needs of our students by negotiating smaller class sizes, more counselors, psychologists, nurses, and social workers. These improvements will sunset and will not be roll back. Sorry about that. We'll roll back to 2019 numbers at the end of next year. Our students deserve to know that these services and supports will continue, if not actually improve. They deserve to know that their teachers will not have to fight to secure these supports. And just like the increase in managerial positions, it will be an uncontentious vote. Servia looks forward to partnering the lens of how we can best support our students. Business as usual will shortchange students. We have an opportunity coming out of this pandemic to create transformative schools. It is time to embrace this opportunity and to plan effectively in a manner that will ensure our students' health and well-being is at the forefront of paving the way for our future. Tonight, Beverly addressed you on the merits of teaching arts. Well, I have some exciting news regarding one of your art teachers. Kelsey Wengel, our art teacher at Doherty Valley High School, has been selected to go on for the National Teacher of Excellence as a representative from California. The process is long, and we won't know until next year if she is chosen for that position, but she has been identified from California as the representative to the National Teacher of Excellence. And representing San Ramon, I couldn't be more proud. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anne, for your report, and congratulations to Kelsey Rachel. Yeah, that's great. And then from our SCI, yeah, CSEA. Oh, you're good? Okay. So, all right, then we're going to move on to 10.0 on the action item. So the 10.1 is consideration of approval of the district library plan for 2020, 2021, and 2021 and 2022. Our Assistant Superintendent, Christine Fajardo.
Yes, thank you, President Ordway. I am thrilled to introduce two of our librarians that have graciously joined us this evening. Stacy Quick from Cal High and Joe Loescher are here this evening to present our library plan for the 2021, 22, 2021 and 21-22 school years. Excuse me, I'm getting my years confused. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Stacy and Joe to present. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having us. As Christine mentioned, my name is Stacy Quick. I'm one of the co-lead librarians from California High School, and I'm here with Joe Loescher from Gale Ranch Middle School, my other co-lead librarian. We are here to just talk about our secondary libraries, and we're here representing our team of 14 full-time double-credentialed teacher librarians that work at our middle and high schools. Next slide, please.
Okay, along with everything else during this pandemic year, our libraries have changed. We're continuing this year. Our focus was on equity, inclusion, and curiosity. And we've been finding all year new ways to reach students, collaborate with teachers, and grow our relationships with the community. We want to wish everybody a happy National Library Week, which happens to be going on right now. We're lucky to be presenting tonight and to tell you about our library commitment and the work that we do. We've created a website documenting this year in particular as we reimagined our libraries and our roles as teacher librarians in our district and at our sites. So I was going to ask if you could just click on the website for me. Okay, and we've been creating this all year, and we'll continue to work in the future to continue with it, but we just wanted to show you quickly up at the top the different menu items or pages. We've got our equity, our literacy, curriculum, and community outreach. And if you click on one of those, equity is great. What we've been doing is in each of these areas, we've been documenting our work all year long, all of the librarians, and just adding to this transformational library website. All of those are links. They're all projects we're doing. They're all things that we're doing with teachers, students, community, and each one of those links or each one of those menu items at the top will give you similar lists. So if you have time, it would be a lovely way to just take a look at what the librarians are doing in our district, kind of in a nutshell. We did design a library plan that we do every year. And this presentation will kind of highlight the things that we have been working on throughout the year, kind of in a nutshell. We'll share quotes from groups with which we work and also ways in which we've grown in our practice and our interaction with our students, teachers, and community. So next slide. Okay, Nancy Doherty is a intervention teacher at the secondary level, and she shared her thoughts on fostering literacy and the way our teacher librarians help us. Our teacher librarian is instrumental in our literacy needs in that she provides support and collaboration, knowledge of current reading trends, research and educational practices, and shares a love of reading with all of us. Next slide.
So when we think of libraries, I think it's comes to us as second nature that literacy and libraries go hand in hand. And this is what we think of when we think of our libraries. And this is just a small list of all of the things that we do to foster literacy throughout our schools. Some of the ones that I'd want to highlight is the fact that we do instructing and facilitating groups in class as well as voluntary groups. We have a lot of book clubs that meet where students volunteer to join, and we read and discuss literacy and literature together. We're also really happy this year that we've grown our electronic access. We were kind of forced into that, obviously, but that was something that we'd been wanting to do. So we're happy that we got the opportunity to do that. So we have access to different ebooks through our Sora collection. We've been building digital collections through our library catalog that the students can go to, teachers can go to, and can browse for books that we have in our library. We have a book talk channel that we run on YouTube that comes out every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, where we talk about great reads. And all of us have kept up to date with an accurate information with our websites. So it's a place where our students, our teachers, all of our staff know that they can go to for accurate information. And we've also expanded our social media presence. Next slide, please. So this quote comes from Shanna Gagnon, who is the SRVUSD Teacher of the Year in 2018-19, just talking a little bit about the libraries and collaboration. And she says, our teacher librarians offer curriculum development resources that align with the state and district goals. For example, they have personally helped me develop an entire study unit on media literacy. The services provided by our teacher librarians are invaluable. Our library brings our campus safe and is key to the fulfilling and meaningful experience students have. Next slide.
So collaborating on curriculum is one of the most creative and enjoyable aspects of our job. Brainstorming units to building curriculum, providing resources to alongside teachers remotely online or in physical classrooms, working with small groups and coaching are some of the things we do when working with curriculum. Next slide, please. Okay, Cecilia Brer, a parent of a secondary student, highlighted our role as teacher of research and information literacy in this way. As a parent, I especially appreciate the grade level lessons that focus on research skills and evaluating authentic sources. Our children are flooded with content given the rise in social media. These lessons are to help them sift through what is real and what is noise. Next slide.
So with that, we really focus on research and information literacy skills. As part of our librarian credential, we focused a lot on up-to-date research skills, digital citizenship, and information literacy. So we talk directly with teachers and students. We give them the tools they need in a world of 24 hours and social media. We also have professional development that we've done in this area. And our main goal with this is help our students realize that one of the keys to make them successful as researchers is to teach them about finding the credible and reliable sources first. And that is really one of the main facets of our job. Next slide, please. And this quote comes from Michael Barnard, the owner at Rakestraw Books in Danville, just talking about our community outreach. And he says, librarians guide, they instruct, they point us in the direction. They help us to become not only better readers, but better citizens. The San Ramon Valley Unified School District is fortunate to have an extraordinary team of library personnel. In supporting them in their work, you are your children, our community, and helping create a stronger future for all of us. Next slide.
Okay, so we've been building relationships with our community as we continue to connect with other schools across the Tri-Valley, the public libraries of San Ramon and Danville, and our local bookseller. Presently, we're collaborating on the Tri-Valley Poetry Festival with poetry lessons, workshops, and a place to publish student work. All of us serve on, or many of us serve on our site councils and many committees at our sites and district level, and also with other school organizations, publishing newsletters, collaborating on projects. Next slide, please. One of our secondary students, Juliana Aziz, said perfectly what the image of school libraries is becoming. To me, the library is a place to find a new adventure and explore. Next slide.
And that leads us to our slide about moving beyond the books. As you can see, we have myriad programs that go beyond just what we can do with research and reading. If you come into our libraries at any time, and if you see us in the virtual space, you'll see that we have vibrant, active spaces. And we're really proud of that. Some of the things on this list that I would highlight is our maker spaces. And this is a place where students are able to explore, to create, to learn by doing. As Joe mentioned, we have the Poetry Festival currently going on now, and we've got a lot of involvement with that. And other events, and these that are listed here, these are going on all of the time. So they aren't just one thing that happens one time in the school year, but ongoing throughout the entire year. Next slide. And we have our quote here from Jessica Lee, one of the secondary students in our district. She says, being in the library means community. When I'm feeling down or when I feel sad, I can go to the library and I know there are people who support me, and I know there are plenty of others who feel as I do. Next slide.
We like to describe our library as the heart of the school. We provide safe spaces for all students throughout the day, whether they're visiting with friends, meeting in a club, working on projects, or sitting quietly with a book. Books are one of the most natural ways to teach empathy and compassion for others. A book connects us with complex characters, learning about others, solving problems, and just figuring ourselves out. We use books as mirrors to see into ourselves, but we also see them as windows into others' lives that might be very different from our own. Bibliotherapy is a fairly new term which describes the way that we use books for all of these reasons. So in short, books make us feel better and makes us better people. Finding that just right book is still one of our passionate preoccupations with all of our students as teacher librarians. So that's a little bit about what we do and how our role has changed and continues to change. The next slide. We thank you for listening, and we'll answer any of your questions.
Thank you so much for your presentation. It's amazing for all the different things that our library and our teacher librarians are doing. Board members, any questions?
Ask a question.
Okay.
First, thank you so much for your report. Really appreciate it. I just wonder, there was some discussion during your presentation about the use of electronic media and that type of thing. I wonder if you could talk a little bit more of the challenge for the teacher librarian during COVID experience, particularly with our remote students, and how that support was undertaken.
Sure. Our role, as we explained, it was kind of threefold. We work with our students, we work with teachers, and with community. And during COVID, with remote learning, initially when we started a year ago, all kinds of activities were going on asynchronously. So we were just planning activities and kids were coming, whether it was sharing music during lunchtime, it was book talks, whether it was helping with research that they would contact us directly. We were just kind of working one-on-one, trying to put programs together. Then this year, we began by working with our teachers a lot with how they were planning, how we could help them, how we could support them, in what ways we could help in any way with resources or with remote learning. So that was one aspect. And we each did that different own sites at different times during the day. Some of us continued to have hours every day where kids would come for research, things like that. Teachers would push into classrooms where we would join a class in session, maybe take a small group, work in a pull-out group. Just today, I met with a group of students that were having trouble finding books. Social justice, actually, a whole collection we'd put together. They weren't quite sure. I met with them independently and we worked on that. So it's tricky, but it's the same. We just have found our ways to connect virtually, through remote learning. I don't know if Stacy has anything to add.
I would just add on to that the fact that our team works so well together in supporting each other. And we meet on a weekly basis. We meet every Friday to just talk about what's going on and support each other. And I think that's been really helpful for all of us. I know that we had some other meetings where we had presented and just talked about the strength of our team. So that's been very helpful for us.
I just want to thank both of you and all of our teacher librarians. Just like all the rest of our staff, we've had to basically build the plane while it was in flight and figure out how best to serve our students. And we've been talking for years about, the library is more than just the physical nature of that space. It really is the support that's provided. And I really appreciate all that was being done to, step beyond the library itself and provide those kind of services to our students and staff. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. I think one other thing I just thought of when Stacy was talking is that because we've been working cross-district as librarians together as a team, we've also discovered, for example, this Tri-Valley Poetry Festival that we put together with librarians, friends that we've made from other districts. And we've been realizing that many of these things are transformative and that we're going to continue to do this kind of work, connecting with other people, using technology to our advantage as we move forward. Like we can't go back. So.
Thank you.
I actually have one, just wanting to know a little bit more about how either our teacher librarians teaching the students or perhaps supporting their teachers in teaching them maybe about the digital and media literacy. Like, are there actually lessons that you give?
With media literacy
Yes.
and digital citizenship? There's a lot of different lessons and programs on all those areas that were up there. A lot about information and figuring out what actually is factual, what is misinformation, what is disinformation. We create a lot of our own lessons. There's a lot of lessons out there, but we don't subscribe to one program that fits all. We really work with individual teachers and individual, a lot of times it's, for example, the English department that'll want to work on something together. We've put a lot of lessons together as asynchronous lessons this year. But we also work with, entire groups depending on what they need at that time. Usually it's within research units or digital citizenship we try to do at the middle school level, I know, throughout the year, as far as being safe online, being a good citizen online, those kinds of things. And then the information literacy, those go to individual classes that we work together on. Did I
Right.
answer your question?
Yes, no, thank you,
Oh.
because I actually had to do some research myself for my work and about, like what do 21st century students need in terms of their career. And I think a lot of us have heard, the 4 C's or 6 C's or whatever, critical thinking, communication, collaboration, all those. But I think that there's also additional kind of a more practical skill that students now need, and it is media and information literacy, like how they collect information and interpret, and and the media literacy, how to navigate, because I think sometimes it's now we have information overload, right? And how do you
Absolutely.
sift through that? And I think those are great skills for our kids.
Well, it's
So
a work
thank
in
you.
progress, believe me. I mean, we're trying to stay ahead of it like everybody else. There's just so much happening in that field.
Great, thank you so much.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for all that you, for our students, sorry. Mike, speak. Thank you for all that you do for all of our students. And I'm looking forward to, as we start to work through and implement the strategic plan, how, in terms of equity and deep learning, social emotional wellness, and how our libraries can really kind of be a hub of resources for our teachers, our staff, our students, as we're starting to broaden and build out as we implement that strategic plan. So thank you for all that you do.
I started realizing when I was working here at this actual high school and working with the librarian who was also president of our site council, exactly how much our teacher librarians do. I don't think even in all the years that my kids were in school, I realized what an important job you have. And when I started working with Jessica here at San Ramon High School, who she took on so many different things and was president of the site council. And in seeing your presentation earlier this year that you gave to Laura and I, it really was an education for me about how important a job that you have, and especially all the things that you've done since COVID to really try to really engage all. So my hat's off to you. Thank you so much for tonight's presentation.
Okay, if there are no more comments or questions for our teacher librarian, can I have a motion?
Can I move to approve the plan as presented?
I'll second.
Motion was made by Board Member Hurd and seconded by Board Member Bratt. Call out vote. Board Member Clark.
Aye.
Board Member Bratt.
Aye.
Board Member Hurd.
Aye.
Board Member Mint.
Aye.
Board Member Ordway.
Aye.
The motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're moving on to 10.2, 2021 SRVUSD Summer School Program Update. And Assistant Principal Kathleen Martins will present to us.
I'm so excited to be here to talk about summer school, and I know there's been a lot of anticipation with what it look like this year, and I'm thrilled to be here to talk to you all about what we have planned And the first thing I think of when I think of summer school this year is really thinking about this is an opportunity for our students. Our students, many of our students have been off campus working remotely for the last year and a half. And we want to be able to get our students back on campus. If you look at our 3 purposes that are on the slides up there, our number 1 purpose for our students is to focus on the academics and the understanding of essential standards that are needed for grade level and course. So an academic focus is one aspect, excuse me. Our second aspect that we're looking at is supporting our students' social emotional well-being. As I mentioned before, we have a lot of students who have been on campus for a year and a half. We want to get them on campus, then learn how to be students again. Our third aspect of summer school that we're looking at, which is more traditional that we've done in years past, is for our students who mediate grades of D's or F's to not only learn those standards and those skills, but also from a transcript perspective. Our format for summer school this year for all of our levels is in person. We want kids on campus. We want them with teachers. We want them with each other. We want them hanging out with each other. And again, learning how to be students again. We want students here 5 days a week. And we want students will be on campus for approximately 4.5 hours per day. We will offer an alternative remote learning option. We know that there are students and families who still are not comfortable with being on campus. We know that there are students and families and students who need summer school but will not, for whatever reason, be able to come on campus. We are working out the details of providing an alternative remote learning of some kind to provide for those students with some type of online platform supported by a teacher. We've secured locations for summer school this year. We have 3 elementary locations, Golden View, Rancho Romero, and Live Oak, and we will provide a 4th site if needed, if we see that there is a need. For example, if we have a lot of students in the elementary school level that need to come to summer school, that want to come to summer school, we will have a 4th location if needed. Iron Horse Middle School will host our middle school students, and then finally San Ramon Valley High School will support our high school students. The schedule that you can find on the website, I'm not going to go through it in detail, but I will just point out that it's very similar to what we've done in years past, and that our elementary program runs 4 weeks. All of our programs, with the exception of the math advancement program, which I'll talk about in a second, are going to start on June 14th. And again, elementary will go 4 weeks with one 4-week session, and then middle school will follow the same dates as elementary school, but it will be divided into 2 separate sessions. Session 1 will be 2 weeks, session 2 will be 2 weeks, and each session will be approximately equivalent to 1 semester's worth of work. High school will also start on June 14th, but last 6 weeks total, divided into 2 3-week sessions. Again, 1 3-week session would be 1 semester. The second 3-week session would be the equivalent of a second semester. Our ESY program will run again this year as well, following the 4-week format, June 14th to July 9th. And the times are different. They are varied as compared to the general education students, but it's very similar to what we've done in years past. And will be on all of our campuses, or 2 of our elementary campuses and our middle school campus and our high school. The programs that we're wanting to run this year for elementary intervention, targeted intervention. We want to help our students get those skills up in math and ELA. We'll run extended school year and then English language development. Middle school will be the same, intervention, ESY, ELD, and then we'll have a math advancement program, which was formerly known as Bridge, for our middle school students who are looking to advance courses in math. For high school, programs we'll offer will be remediation, as I mentioned earlier, remediating those D's and F's, targeted intervention, ESY, ELD, and then something new this year we want to run is a 9th grade Scholastic Bridge program, which I'll talk about in just a few minutes, that we're excited about for our rising 9th graders. The students who we're looking to invite to summer school would be, for elementary students, are students who've received 1s and 2s on report cards for ELA and math. We're looking for targeted essential standard support intervention for these students. And then, of course, having our students on campus, getting them to have some to support their social, emotional learning. We want kids back on campus. Middle school, similar, except there's grades in middle school. So for students with D's and F's in ELA and math, we want to invite them to come on campus. Again, focusing on targeted essential standard intervention. And again, getting them on campus, learning how to be a student. It dawned on me when I was working on this that we have students who are rising 7th graders who chose to be remote this whole year as a 6th grader, and they've never been on a middle school campus, and how great and important it is to get them on our campus. For high school, our students who will be invited to attend are students who have received F's and then D's where we have room. Our Scholastic Bridge program we're excited about. This is for rising 9th graders who need academic study skill, executive functioning support. Those students who may not have done so well academically in middle school, they're just maybe have an organizational issue or just some study skill support. We're going to invite them to participate in our high school summer school program for a 3-week period. So one of those either first sessions or second sessions, and they will receive high school credit back. And then again, as social emotional support, getting kids back on campus, learning how to be students again. So exciting. I'm excited about it. How do you come to summer school? So for elementary and middle school students, a Google form recommending summer school will be sent to families from teachers, counselors, or administrators. We've already started that process today, and families will confirm or decline their intent to enroll their student for summer school. For high school, we're hoping that our counselors will be able to meet with students individually on campus. They'll be able to meet in person. We have a lot of students who are not on campus, however, though, so our counselors will be reaching out to those students and families virtually. We also know that there are a lot of students who may not have gotten 1s and 2s on report cards or have not gotten D's or F's on report cards, but they still need on campus. They still need to come to school, learn how to be a student again, be with their friends, be with their teachers. Families and students who weren't recommended for summer school may submit a request to enroll their child in summer school to receive academic support in math, ELA, and or SEL support. Our primary focus for these students is rising 1st through 8th graders, and we're excited to have this, potentially have this opportunity for these students. How students will be able to enroll in this program is a Google form will be sent through their home site. Our goal is to provide an opportunity for all students who want to attend. Finally, when we're looking at curriculum instruction, one of the things we talked about was ensuring that our students, well, understanding where our students are when they come into summer school, understanding where their skills are from a math and ELA perspective, and then finding out where they are after they've gone through our summer school program. So what we'd like to do is to administer a pre and post universal assessment in ELA and math using something like FastBridge. And then with the post-assessment data that's received at the end of summer school, we want to be able to provide that data to the fall 2021 teachers. When planning the curriculum for our students during summer school, a combination of teacher-created curriculum and online platforms will be used, really depending on what our pre-assessment data shows once the students start summer school, or we may choose to use some spring FastBridge data as a starting point as well. Our presentation for summer school, and we're happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions from the board?
I think the big thing is opening up the access to all of our students. So it's not just what's on a report card for elementary students getting ones on the report cards or D's and F's on the report cards from middle school, but allowing students whose families they feel like they need to come on campus to get back in the swing. Maybe refresh some math skills, refresh some ELA skills. They will have that opportunity to do that, even though from a grade standpoint or report card standpoint, it looks like it's okay. That's an excellent question. That's something we're still talking to. We've just hired our principals at the site, and we're in the process of hiring teachers. Those are things that we'll talk about as we move forward in the planning. It's a great question, Shelley, and I'm not exactly sure what it's going to look like, but I know that we want to be able to provide the opportunity, again, from my standpoint, get students on campus, be with each other, and I'm in at the elementary level, maybe having games, maybe having 30 minutes every week where we get everybody together and just do some type of team building or fun, that kind of. I don't really know what it's going to look like, but it's a focus for our principals and for us as a planning team.
And Trustee Clark. Oh.
We're planning for numbers that we've seen similarly prior to last year. Last year we were all remote. 2 years ago, we're planning on numbers that are similar to that. I don't have the actual numbers themselves, but in years past, we've had 4 elementary schools, 1 middle school, and 1 high school. You're welcome. Thank you.
With that question, will there be a maximum number of students, and so, or will every student that wants to partake in summer school, regardless of their grade or need for remediation, have an opportunity?
The hope is that we'd be able to provide access for everybody who needs it, or in the case of those who want to come. That's the hope. Just it's kind of we don't know what those numbers look like yet. Preliminary numbers for the students who need summer school are similar to years past, maybe a little on the higher side with some subjects regarding secondary, but the hope would be to provide access to everybody.
And will there be an opportunity? So as I see that there's the usual remediation, like we've done in the past, and then bringing in emotional wellness into those classrooms. And then opening it up for students who don't necessarily need, from a grade standpoint or an assessment standpoint, need that remediation, but have an opportunity to go into those classes. But then when I think of those students and I think about now they're committing to, 6-8 weeks, 4 or 5 days a week for, some sense of normalcy, but then that's not a normal summer. And then it becomes, there's those kind of questions. Did you look into, or is there an opportunity for students to have, more, I don't know if it's workshop or more opportunities that are not as big of a time commitment, but really focus on that ramp back into on-site, that relearning how to be in the classroom, how to study, and not having to wait until, the first day of the fall to be able to then jump into it.
Ms. Martins, if I could take this question just regarding curriculum overall with regard to summer school, I did want to kind of address what Trustee Clark and Trustee Bratt you're bringing up. I think it's really important to note that our team of coordinators led by Debbie Pettish have really spent a lot of time with our principals navigating the needs of what our current students have. And so we are really taking a look at current assessments that are happening at the site, both from an SCL standpoint and from an academic perspective, and really relying judgment on our principals and our teachers to say who needs to be at summer school. And I think it's really important to understand that existing expertise that we want to depend on our principals and our teachers to carry into summer, focusing in on those essential standards, but also relying on some of the current programs that we do have in play. Sanford Harmony, our units of study, some of the work we've done with structured literacy, our current math programs. So I do think what we really want to focus on in terms of kids who are attending is that teachers have a perspective of who needs to be in summer school and parents have a perspective. And we want to honor both of those perspectives this year in summer school, which is a little bit different from what we've done in years past, where I would say that open policy, if you will, to really advocate for your child and whoever needs to be there has the right to be there, has not necessarily been. So we do want to be able to have all children who need access to summer school to attend in any capacity their teachers feel they need to be there, capacity their parent feels they need to be there. I really honor both of those viewpoints.
And if I add one other point that I think, Trustee Bratt, you're getting at, how we approach the start of the new school year, collaborating with our amazing educators is going to be very important. In other words, if we could have had more of a ramp, there are all kinds of other creative and innovative ideas we thought about in relationship to this summer. But we're probably, frankly, not in the energy brain space as a district to put some of those great ideas in play. And so what that says to us is that how we approach the start of the new school year, just like how we approach the return for those who chose in person, we have to kind of revisit that again. I know that our educators have brilliant ideas because they've shared those with us, and we'll be, if we can't meet those needs in summer school, that we're very intentional as we start the new school year based upon the points that you bring.
Yeah, thank you. I think that's going to be really important. And in talking to a few different students, that's, BA students that don't necessarily see themselves as summer school students, but really have some anxiety around what that means to be back in the classroom, whether it's the way that they are assessed and, as a remote student, they had open books, all of those kinds of things. And then just the anxiety around in a classroom with students, I think sometimes too is, I don't know if this is the place to have this conversation, but I'm curious if there will be any professional development opportunities for staff and teachers in support, whether it's over the summer, but in supporting that ramp back on for our students.
Sorry, I'm not close enough to this mic. I feel how you guys have to adjust to the microphones. Yes, to answer your question, there will be. Debbie Pettish is working very closely with Ms. Martins and Dave Kravitz, our Director of Instruction, exactly that, to be able to have our teachers hired and then get them the best support in terms of what they need to be able to roll into summer with the best plans for students.
And again, if I can just add, I think you're raising a really significant discussion that we need to probably be sure to bring you back insights as we move forward. So for example, I know in our collaboration with our union partners, this is a number one conversation. With staff, when I'm visiting staff meetings, this is the number one conversation. We can't revisit the school year start business as usual. It hasn't been usual. So what I'm hearing from you, Trustee Bratt, and I will certainly take this back just as something that we need to do together, is provide regular updates regarding how we're approaching things differently, how we're trying to provide the service to our students effectively, because summer school is not for everybody. And for some, it's not probably the right place to be. And they need to be somewhere else in order to be rejuvenated and renewed for the new year. And for some, it's the absolute right place. So I think that the summer school piece is not going to be our San Ramon Valley catch-all, though we want it to be amazing. But you're asking some important questions that we will come back to you after we do more collaboration regarding what are those key things we are going to support our staff to do different so that everybody feels connected, that they can return with as least amount of anxiety as possible. We can support our staff through assessment practices that may cause more or less stress, especially at the beginning. These are all important questions that we will take back, and we will continue to bring back to you, of course, collaborating with all of our partners.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. And then just a last point. I think that rising ninth graders Scholastic camp or class, I think that is spot on. And I mean, it would be wonderful if everyone had that opportunity, or the rising sixth graders. But I think that's something that especially given the year and a half, and then that transition back into normalcy, and then that transition into high school, and all of the confidence building that needs to happen that kind of got lost in this last year and a half. I think I'm very excited to see that and grateful for it. So, and then I just want to say just to the community that don't forget about the PLI opportunities too, especially for your secondary students, for your high schoolers, because there's lots of opportunity with that for those students where remediation isn't necessarily the place, but they still want to expand and learn new things.
Maybe if I can build on that question, since our focus is on remediation and intervention, particularly with some advancement in math, given that we've changed our strategies around summer school the last couple of years or so, I'm just wondering if there's been any collaborative discussion with the cities or the Ed Foundation in terms of offering the enrichment or other advancement opportunities that the community has come to expect from us. But as everything keeps changing, I just want to make sure that the community is clear on what our programs are, as we've described here today, but other things that might be available for our students as well.
Absolutely. In fact, our director of curriculum, Debbie Pettish, who I will invite up to the mic, keeps those conversations going with our education fund and with, and we often are communicating with them about what they are offering and what students can do to kind of continue their after summer school, or if they're not able to attend our program, what opportunities are out there for them. I'm going to go ahead and let Ms. Pettish kind of speak to her ongoing role in supporting and kind of being the conduit between communicating with both the city and the Ed Fund.
Yes, of course. Thank you, Christine, and hello, Board of Education. Good evening. Yeah, so we've been working with Vanessa from the Ed Foundation, of course, in order to really advertise and make sure that our parents and our students, okay, sorry about that, that our parents and our students understand the opportunities that they are providing. As of right now, they are providing, again, their very popular Imagineering course that is our students just absolutely love, that has been a huge success. And we are also working with them in potentially providing some other enrichment opportunities for potentially K-12 students. We just haven't finalized those yet. And then in terms of the city, as we know, San Ramon and Danville offer so many different opportunities for our kids that we're continuing to advertise as they come along, so that our families really know the range of options that are available to them and not just our summer school program, which is amazing. And Kathleen and Dave have done an over-the-top awesome job on that. But we really want to make sure that our families are aware of the multiple opportunities.
I really appreciate that. You know, I know a couple of years ago when we did have an expanded summer, there was actually some conflicts for families because, you know, their kids all of a sudden wanted to go to summer school. It was interrupting plans for other things like summer camps. And so the sooner that we can get the information out about specifically what our program is, it gives families that much more time to do the planning that they need to figure out, okay, how they're going to schedule their kids for the summertime.
Right. You know, I want to echo Laura's, I guess, kudos to your, the rising ninth grade. I think it's Scholastic Bridge, which focuses, right, on study skills to strengthen student academic study skills and executive functioning support. I know, like, even before, you know, this last year with all that, you know, learning loss and stuff, I think that students, that those are great things that we can help them with, beyond even, right, ninth grade or high school. So I'd like to commend you on that, adding something like that to, you know, and not just academic, but the actual study skills and executive functioning. Anything else? If not, if I can have a motion.
I'll make the motion. I'd like to move to approve the summer school plan as presented, and also thank staff for the great job.
Second.
The motion was made by Board Member Hurd and seconded by Board Member Mims. Mintz, call out vote. Board Member Clark.
Aye.
Board Member Bratt.
Aye.
Board Member Hurd.
Aye.
Board Member Mintz.
Aye.
Board Member Ordway.
Aye.
The motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. 10.3, consideration of approval of the schematic design and cost estimate for the Monte Vista High School pool project. So Assistant Superintendent Danny Hillman will help us with this one.
Good evening.
Okay.
I know you've probably had a chance to read this. I'm going to read through a lot of it because there's a lot of detail here that I would like to make sure that we get out in the open so that you can ask questions or if there's any comments. But I do know that it is written here. I will try not to read it word for word, so maybe every other word or so. First, let me just say that I'm excited to speak on this particular project because this has been a long time coming. The pool has been there at Monte Vista in its current condition since the late 1990s, early 2000s. And I'll jump in now. The existing pool was completed in the spring of 2000. It is in a state of decline. It needs extensive repairs and updates to remain safe and compliant with the current codes, current building codes, current safety codes. After discussing the pool's condition with designers and other consultants specializing in public pool maintenance, construction, and restoration, district staff identified a scope of work and requested estimates. The basic scope of work that is necessary to update and ensure the continued safe operations of the pool is estimated to cost about $3.2 million. The scope of work includes replacing the entire pool deck, the pool plaster surfaces, updating the pool equipment, adding the required ADA compliant features, as well as many other details. If the board was to give direction to staff to move forward with just this repair, we would use, the budget for this would come from the district's local building fund, what we call Fund 21. At the same time, staff also conducted an analysis and compared these estimates of repair to what an entirely new pool would cost. We typically do this when we're analyzing projects to make sure that we are getting the best bang for your buck, so to speak, with the taxpayer dollar. We don't want to put repairs into things if we think that a full replacement would actually provide the longevity that we are used to seeing, as well as if we needed to update features or give a better usability of a facility. In this case, we believe that doing something different than a repair would be the best course of action, and I'm going to go into that now. For the reasons listed below, we recommend that the board consider replacing the old pool with a new, larger pool. The current pool is 25 yards by 25 meters. And at the time that it was designed, it did meet codes and was adequate to meet the school's needs, which at the time consisted primarily of a competitive high school swimming and diving team and the needs of the physical education department. By the time that the pool was completed, about a year or two later, the requirements changed, specifically for springboard diving. So at that point, the pool wasn't deep enough any longer to have any springboard diving competitions there. Also, water polo has become much more popular in our community and our surrounding area, in addition to being a very popular sport at the school. And then we also have demand from the local community, from organized club teams to use our pools, especially Danville, San Ramon Valley High School, and Monte Vista High School, to have the club teams come and practice outside of the hours when our athletics teams are done for the day. Due to updated regulations over the last 20 years, the existing pool is not deep enough to support the CIF requirements for springboard diving. I mentioned that. And as I mentioned, water polo is more popular, and we cannot, with the current footprint at Monte Vista, support floating goals. Right now, the goals have to hang on the side of the pool deck, and that causes actually a problem to the pool deck itself, but also doesn't give the true field of play that water polo really needs to be competitive. And it also prevents the school from hosting anything other than a dual meet for their high school program. They can't really host any sort of championship league matches or any other larger events that could bring revenue to the district because it's just small. So a modern 2021 high school swimming pool should have a minimum water depth of 12 feet for the 1 meter springboard diving, 7 feet of depth for competitive swimming and water polo fields of play, and a shallow area of 3.5 feet to 4.5 feet classes to support students that do not know how to swim and supports community swim lessons. California Building Code and Health Codes require pools to have a shallow end no deeper than 3.5 feet, and the shallow end must be at least 10 feet to the 4.5 foot depth. CIF requires a minimum field of play of 25 yards between the goals and up to 25 meters between face of goals for water polo. To meet the California code requirements and accommodate the needs of swimming, diving, water polo, physical education, the minimum size a pool should be is 33 meters. This is the size that is similar to the newest pool constructed at San Ramon Valley High School in 2013. The attached schematic design of a new 33-meter pool represents a modern facility comparable to other schools in the district and would be able to completely support the needs of the high school aquatics program as well as the community. See attachment A, which is page 37 in the packet, which goes through the aquatics programming and a comparison of different pool sizes, and I can flip to that in just a second. The complete new 33-meter pool is estimated at $4.7 million. This is a larger pool, a modernized equipment, the required ADA, which we can delineate on attachment B, which by the way is page 38. When compared to the modernization scope identified above, this expanded scope is estimated to cost $1.5 million more. The plan for a pool at Monte Vista High School represents an equitable update to the facility that would expand the functionality for the school as well as the community. In attachment C and attachment D, we have a couple of drawings so you can see one related to the other. And then you can also see the schematic design as it's currently laid out by the architect in question. On March 17th, about a month ago, our Facilities Oversight and Advisory Committee reviewed and approved the schematic design and the cost estimate for this larger pool under their advisory role and function. This is not a Measure D project. As I mentioned earlier, either option will be paid out of the local building fund, Fund 21, and our FOAC, Facilities Oversight and Advisory Committee, does weigh in on certain facilities projects when they're large like this. And so we did review it with them first before bringing it to you for consideration and questions tonight. If you turn to page 37, as I mentioned, this attachment A really goes through the different size of pools. 25 meter is what is in place now at Monte Vista. Bumping up to a 33 meter provides all the additional flexibility that we described there, but it's listed here a little differently, more of a list form as opposed to narrative form. I would like to highlight at the top of attachment A, you can see there's a list of 11 things here that would be allowed for with a 33 meter pool. And I don't want to short shrift or leave out the community use portion. The current Monte Vista High School pool is used by the community through a partnership with the town of Danville. And while we have approached the town of Danville and they are interested in continuing that partnership, we haven't settled on anything yet around terms of use, finances, or anything at this time, but they are interested, and I know that we will land something. So the community use portion of this is facilitated through the town of Danville's partnership. We want to continue that. As you all know, we have a wonderful relationship with the town, the city as well, and we want to maintain those relationships going forward. The Monte Vista High School pool has historically, for the last 20 years, been the town of Danville's home base of operations during the summertime for them to do recreational swim and all the other aquatics programs that they offer. Very similar to how the city of San Ramon uses California High School as their home base. The arrangement's a little different, but in the summertime, it's essentially the same function for the town. Page 38 and 39 really gets into the details of the line-by-line estimate. You can see there are differences when you do just a modernization repair versus a brand new pool. There's some demolition costs and things that you wouldn't have if you kept the existing pool that you would have to incur if you built a new pool. We have to rip the entire thing out and start over. I think the key thing to look at on page 40 with the layout, the schematic design itself, gives you an overhead view. And at the top of the page, you see these somewhat rectangular shapes. Those are shade structures to orient yourself to the drawing. We did have a preliminary conversation with the school site and asked for their input on some features. And they gave us one piece of key feedback was to put shade structures on that end of the pool. But just to orient yourself, if you go just above those rectangular shapes is the existing parking lot at Monte Vista High School. To the left side of the sheet is, you see some doors and things listed there. That's actually the equipment room that's already there, it's existing. We're gonna replace the equipment inside of it, but the building itself doesn't have to be demolished and does not have to be rebuilt. To the bottom of the page, there's a small hill and a small berm there. And we're gonna cut into that a little bit. But to the right, the gym building is there. And what I'm trying to point out is simply this. We can fit the 33-meter pool, the larger size pool, within the existing constraints that surround it, the parking lot, the gym, and the equipment building. We want to make sure we kept the costs as low as we possibly could. If we had to go into the parking lot or into the gym itself, now we're talking about triple and quadruple dollars that we frankly don't have and we don't want to spend unless we have to. So we're happy that this particular design gives the functionality by going to the larger footprint without impacting the other facilities that directly surround the pool. And if you wanted to see kind of an overlay, it's not kind of, it is an overlay. Page 41, attachment D, you can see that the blue box, if you're looking at a color copy of this, the blue box is the existing footprint of the pool, the 25 yard by 25 meter, and the red box, the larger box, is obviously the larger footprint of a 33-meter pool. So you can see how one overlaps with the other, with the new entrance of stairs and some other functionality things that are required for a new project. Well, I'll stop there and see if you guys have questions and we can dive into it. I also have our Assistant Director of Facilities, Erin Hurst, here. She would probably be willing to stand up and answer some more detailed questions on timeline and things if you had those questions, but we'll see where you go first. Thank you.
Board members, any questions? I actually have a couple. So I think with the pool, besides working with Town of Danville, will we be able to, I guess, like rent out the pool, like some of our other facilities, right, to different groups?
We certainly can. We do have two historical users in our area. One is 680 Water Polo, which is a private club water polo team. And the other is a private club swim team, the Sea Devils, which operate out of Danville. The two have used the San Ramon High Pool here for years, and we would continue to want to rent to them. So this would give another facility that they would probably be interested in. And I think having a second location on the north end of our district that could host tournaments would be a draw for certain organizations in the area. We did have some preliminary conversations about 2 years ago with USA Water Polo. And while we did discuss very pie in the sky solutions about having a Northern California facility that they could use and maybe call it a training facility, they weren't at the time and probably still aren't in the position to do anything like that and partner. And it came out while we both had some similar interests that their program doesn't really meld well with a fully functioning high school all the time. They would be better equipped to do like a community pool or something that doesn't have classes there during the school day. And so there's some overlap and there's a potential partnership down the road. So I do believe that we would have, this is a classic case of if you build it, they will come. I think that we will have more agencies and bodies interested in coming to rent the facility if it was to a specification that allowed them to do certain things. Right now, outside of the California high school pool and the Doherty high school pool, San Ramon High is the only one that meets in size requirements, and so it gets impacted with most of the requests. The two in our south end of our district are run by the city first, and so they really get the first use of reservations outside of our school-related uses. So this would open up a reservation opportunity to generate some additional revenue for the district down the road once the word is out in the community that this facility is available. And the aquatics community is very close-knit. They all know each other and they all talk, even if somebody's a swimmer and somebody does polo or somebody does diving, they're all interrelated, they all know each other. And so I think we won't be able to keep it secret for very long, let's put it that way.
Okay, thank you. And my other question, actually, because we're looking at additional 1.5 million. Are there, and this is from the building fund, are there other projects that we might have to like push back or anything, because we're using the additional?
At this time, there isn't anything we'll have to abandon or postpone. What we have been doing on a regular basis is we monitor the funds that come into that fund and the ones that go out, and we try to budget the amount of work that Aaron and our facilities team can handle within the timeframes that they can do work. As you know, summer's prime opportunity. Sometimes we can get work done during a extended winter break or a spring break. But how much can they handle? And then we analyze cash flow at the same time. So most of the funds that are in our building fund come from reimbursements from the State Facilities Program, SFP. And so these are dollars that we put in for years and years ago as a matching program. And the state is just now getting around to releasing some of those dollars to us. So we try to match the fund release from the state to this fund, Fund 21, with the projects that need to be done. This is the same account that we would use for things like turf field replacements that are going to take place this summer at 3 high schools that need it. That came to the board a couple of meetings ago, and you approved it. Thank you for doing that. So nothing has to be postponed at this time. We think that all of the things that are needed, when it's needed, we will still be able to do if the board decides to go with the higher price tag of a new, larger pool.
Okay, great. Thank you.
What's the timeline, and how will this impact next school year for Monte Vista sports? And
Great question. On the timeline question, I'm going to see if Aaron can just make sure that I'll say it and then you can just nod. How's that? Okay. So I believe we've already blocked off the Monte Vista pool for work this summer because we have to do something one way or the other. The work will begin this summer. Okay, check. And it will go into the fall season. So it will affect the fall aquatic season to some degree, and the school already knows about that. Check. Thumbs up.
so it conceivably could be done by second semester.
Yes, I believe that is the intent. It will take 6 to 7 months. I mean, it's going to go into October, November, I think, correct? Yes, it will. So for those of you who didn't hear that at home, we have a very aggressive design team, and given a decision this evening or in short order, we can move quickly if needed, which we would like to do, to get something done so that we don't impact 2 seasons of sport. We want to impact 1 season of sport, and it would be the fall season.
And then in terms of revenue generation, I guess, or partnership with Danville, what like, do you have an estimate of maybe what the city of Danville has provided in the past, or will the fees be able to, to pay for the upkeep of the pool? Like, what's the history with that and the projection with the new pool? Just from an estimate standpoint.
Yes. So the history of the pool with the town of Danville's participation is very unique, and we could go into it, but it won't be a good sample for what we could do now. The reason for that, and I believe Ken and possibly Rachel were around at that time and remember this, that there was a special financing arrangement that was made between the district, the town, I believe a third entity, which has now been dissolved, and a special financing situation that we don't need in this case because we have the cash flow to do it. So that's one part to your question. I think that most of all of the fees that we would charge for facility rental by government code have to be backed up by real cost. We can't say, oh, that's about $1,000 an hour. We have to actually show this is what the electricity bill was. Here's how much water we're moving. Here's the maintenance costs. And so we would then translate those into facility fees themselves that we would charge users. So I can definitely get with maintenance, who has most of the records on this, and we could do a return on investment. You come back and provide that information, but I have not yet done that calculation for a larger sized pool. It would probably be similar to what we're doing at San Ramon High. And that's how the two historical users I mentioned earlier, Sea Devils and 680 Polo, that's how their fees are assessed, are by how often they use it. So actually, the more they use it, the more electricity they use, the more they have to pay.
Thank you.
And point out that Suzanne and I sit as liaison facilities oversight and advisory committee. And just a couple of quick points on this. One is this project that we've had to look at for quite some time because of the issues with the need for restoration. And if there were any questions, this question of restore versus replace comes up very often in our calculations of facilities. One of the best examples was over at California High School, the main building, which had this kind of almost underground section for some of its classrooms that was always dark and dreary. And, you know, we could have gotten away with some paint and carpet, but it would not have met the need. And I think that's where we are with this pool as well. As Danny mentioned, you know, when it was first put in play, we were meeting the requirements for the pool. And it became known once the pool was complete that it no longer met those requirements. And so it actually limited our capability for using that pool at the facility. One of the things we've always stressed in this district is comparability of our facilities across the different school sites. And so particularly with the development of the pool at Seminole Valley High, which had a lot of same kind of issues. You know, it wasn't deep enough, it wasn't long enough. We actually went in and actually changed the direction of the pool when it was replaced at Seminole Valley High here at the school. So anyway, this has been an ongoing issue for, I'd say, several years now, where we're trying to find the right kind of solution for this site. And with that, it's been seen as a priority as part of our facilities program for some time. So coming to us now, it's the type of thing that to not take an act, either to renovate or replace, could mean the closure of the pool even, depending upon the kinds of restrictions that would be placed on us based upon the kind of issues that we currently have at that site. So my hope is that we would go forward with the replacement. We do have the funding for it. When it comes to funding for facilities, the question becomes one of priorities with other needs. And as Danny mentioned, this is pretty much at the top of our facilities need at this point in time.
We do have 2 public comment cards on this item. I ask Kirk Everett to come up and speak.
Where did that mic?
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
you saw it.
Sorry.
Took it.
It's just that one was really hard to hear before. So, okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Thank you.
There we go. All right, cool. My name's Kirk Everest. I'm the head water polo coach at Berkeley, at Cal Berkeley. I'm also a technical director at 680 Water Polo. So I can add some context to some of the comments. I'm here to support the building of a larger facility. I think it will support the community very well. This community has produced some of the best water polo players in the country over the years, and quite possibly some of the best water polo players in the world. Maggie Steffens, coming out of Monte Vista High School, is generally considered the greatest water polo player in the world right now, and will be competing in Tokyo shortly. So there's a massive tradition in this community for the sport of water polo, for aquatics in general. And the kids that are participating at the club level, at the high school level, in swimming, in water polo. I have kids that went to Monte Vista. One that was a swimmer went on to Santa Barbara to compete there as well. Deserve that kind of facility to support their endeavors. To give some context, I think 680 in a general non-COVID year at San Ramon is our pool fees run $75,000 a year to rent San Ramon Valley. So we support about 350 kids. That would probably grow with the ability to have more water. There's a lot of, if you only have so much water, you can only support so many kids. Obviously, coaching staff, that kind of stuff come into play with that. But the ability to have another facility that could accommodate more practices, more kids, would grow that number. And I know we would want to use both facilities at the, at as many hours as we possibly could. We're all over the place from Las Lomas. With COVID, we're up at Cowell Pool as well. So kids from up here driving, all the way up Ignacio to participate in water polo up there as well, and using the pool many, many hours a week because of the lack of facilities and the inability to get into the high schools right now just because of COVID. But on a normal year, we would definitely be using that pool many, many hours a week. So I'm here to support it, and I hope it gets done. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Our next speaker is Des Monte.
Just a teensy bit. Hi, my name is Des Moncton. I'm a Danville resident, and I'm here to support a much improved aquatic center. Am I all right? For the 7 people who are still here, thank you very much. And thank you for you folks. So a much improved aquatic center at Monte Vista High School that will serve our entire community. And Danny, I completely agree with you. If you build it, they will come. If we do this right, and if we do it properly, we'll have a pool that can offer masters and lap swimming. I appreciate. Local youth swim teams, water polo, aquatic exercise classes, and much, much more. The swim lessons for so many kids, especially in my neighborhood and in my community, it's gotten to the point where because of both parents working and all of this, they've had to go outside of Danville to be able to find times to get their children basically waterproofed, right? I mean, our community is so blessed to have so many swimming pools in the backyard. It's mission critical that we're able to teach the young up and coming swimmers and just get them waterproofed to where they're safe in our community. So I also believe that an improved pool at Monte Vista High School will be a desirable location for swim meets that could be, again, the revenue generator for Danville. I have a lifetime of going to swim meets. I grew up in the East Bay, and we used to travel everywhere: Sacramento, Redding, Reno. 3-day meets with literally thousands of participants. It's typically a family kind of a family sport. So moms and dads and little brothers and little sisters and big brothers, big sisters. We come into and we descend upon a swimming facility, and we're renting hotel rooms. We are dining in Danville and Alamo restaurants, and we are shopping with the merchants. It is a big revenue generator. And Monte Vista has incredible space. With the 2 parking lots, you guys can accommodate championship level swim meets and water polo matches and whatever else. We're just basically blessed to live in a city and a community that values recreation like we do. Kirk said it, Danville and Alamo, and just the people that I know, collegiate swimmers are everywhere. And it goes down into, again, the next generation. So I just feel very strongly that we have this opportunity to keep that tradition alive in Danville and Alamo. And let's just do the right thing. And instead of putting a Band-Aid on something that we're just going to have to revisit in another 3-4 years, let's do this correctly, and let's build a pool that not only will support our community, but I think will bring a lot of recognition to our area. So thank you very much, and I hope you support this.
Thank you. Hey, board, any comments?
I just wanted to comment that I know it's half again as much money, but it really does seem like a no-brainer. For anyone that's been part of swimming or water polo, you know that larger pool facility makes all the difference in the world. You can have warm-up lanes. You can run 2 water polo matches at the same time, even when it comes to the high school practicing, and JV and your varsity playing at the same time, or girls varsity and boys varsity or whatever. And having been a Cal High parent and how we had to share with the year-round team, we had those complications that the Danville High Schools didn't, but it made the world of difference when the new San Ramon pool went in. And to reiterate what Ken said about parity, that's always been really important. Now Monte Vista is the only one with a small pool. This pool, you fixed the depth part for the diving, it still would be substandard. So in my mind, this is, if we have the money, if we can pull it off as fast as that, that's incredible. This is an obvious one. I'd like to make the motion.
No.
The motion was made by Board Member Hurd and seconded by Board Member Mintz. Call out vote, Board Member Clark.
Aye.
Board Member Bratt.
Aye.
Board Member Hurd.
Aye.
Board Member Mintz.
Aye.
Board Member Ordway.
Aye.
The motion passes 5-0.
Great. Let's see, 10.4, consideration of approval of declaration of need for fully qualified educators. Our Assistant Superintendent, Keith Rudzinski.
Thank you, President Ordway. Good evening, trustees. So the California Department of Education requires that all school districts complete a declaration of need each spring to hire any teachers in an upcoming school year under any form of an emergency teaching credential. Your approval of this item 10.4 this evening, satisfies this requirement. What happens is that the Board of Education takes action. We file this document with the local county office of education. And when we need to hire a teacher under an emergency credential, before it goes through the county office of education to the Commission on Teacher Credentialing, they make sure that we have a completed declaration of need on file and that the numbers that we have included in the need actually reflect what it is we have requested to hire. So even though this is a routine item that is brought forward to the board annually, similar to what we talked about at our last meeting with hiring teachers under provisional intern permits, this is required to be brought to you as an action item rather than as a consent item, which is the reason why we're asking for your action on this as an action item. Okay. Approval is recommended as presented.
Move approval.
I'll second.
The motion was made by Board Member Mintz and seconded by Board Member Bratt. Call out vote. Member Clark.
Aye.
Board Member Bratt.
Aye.
Board Member Hurd.
Aye.
Board Member Mintz.
Aye.
Board Member Ordway.
Aye.
The motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so now, and we have a 10.5 item, which is consideration of approval of board bylaws, 9322 and 9323.
So
Very
the
much.
suggestions I wanted to make are small, but I think they're important because the whole point of redoing these was to reflect how we are doing, or how we're practicing. So the first one is on page number, on page 80 of 89. When it talks about agenda preparation, it talks about the board president and the superintendent set the agenda. Since our past and practice is for it to rotate with one other member, I wanted to insert after president and one additional trustee on a rotating basis to reflect, how we do. The second one is on page 85 under meeting conduct. I think we agreed on Rosenberg's rules, not Robert's rules, so that's just a correction. And then the third thing was on page 86. It's where we've listed procedures, and it's under the one that's number 1. I would suggest that we remove where it says either before or, so that it's talking about that members of the public can address us when we are considering an item, just to make it absolutely clear that you can't talk about an item that we're not on just because you want to leave. So I just thought that tightened up, what we intend. So I would like to move approval tonight with those amendments.
A second.
Yeah, any discussion? No, thank you, actually, Rachel, for catching those and tightening it up. I totally agree.
The motion was made by Board Member Hurd and seconded by Board Member Clark. Call out vote. Board Member Clark.
Aye.
Board Member Bratt.
Aye.
Board Member Hurd.
Aye.
Board Member Mintz.
Aye.
Board Member Ordway.
Aye.
The motion is 5-0.
Oh, we're at 12.0, administrative matters. 12.1, board reports. One have report from the board.
Well, I think I would just like to thank all of our staff that did the heavy lifting to allow us to return students to school 4 days a week right before spring break. I know it was a tough challenge, and I know some of the comments that I made related to why I thought we needed to do it rubbed some people the wrong way, and I want to apologize for that rubbing the wrong. But I have to admit that being at a campus later in that week during lunchtime and observing the kids and talking to teachers and a TSA who was an assistant principal capacity and watching these young kids play on a playground just reinforced how it was absolutely the right decision to do. And then people could go away on spring break and breathe and enjoy themselves. But I have to share the story about watching these kids play. And it was like the way kids have always played. And they were being inventive, they were being creative. Principal had gone and gotten some hula hoops and some jump ropes. And this little girl started turning in a circle. Both kids were jumping over it. Then more kids came, and the game grew, the rules grew, and they managed it themselves. And it was just so encouraging to just reassure that we're going to be okay. There's going to need to be a ramp. There's going to need to be adjustment. But as a community, as a society, we're going to be okay. And I just wanted to share that because it made my whole week and through spring break to just have that reassurance.
For that.
Nothing to. Thank you.
Laura?
I also want to say thank you for the staff and administration for being able to bring the hybrid students onto campus 4 days a week. It's greatly appreciated in my family and many families in our district. And then we had a climate and culture meeting on, I think it was last week, Wednesday. And there's been a lot of good work that's been happening in that committee. And I think as we move into the strategic planning with implementation into next year, I look forward to all of the great ideas that the subcommittees are bringing and discussing. And then I also want to give a shout out to our traffic team to do a lot of maneuvering to be able to get those buses and those routes open, and everything's moving forward and they've done a really great job. So I'm grateful that they were able to support those students that needed the buses to get to school. So, thank you.
Billy, anything? No? For me either. So with that, you don't need to extend the time, Cindy. I know she usually gives me kind of a nudge. Okay, sorry. Yes, superintendent gets to make your report too. I totally skip over you.
And I actually feel like I was able to give you a very broad, expansive report at the beginning. I will pass it.
Okay, thank you. With that, we're adjourned.